All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight is the Area 51 Premier Series here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it is playoff time, playoff race number 1 here. So, say right now, all the drivers putting down their qualifying laps, try to get that ideal qualifying position to keep some track position. 100 laps is going to be the race distance. Right now, track temp is ambient temp 78 degrees, track temp 111 degrees. Let's say before we get into all of that, though, we're going to go real quick over our standings entering tonight's event and find out who those top 8 drivers were once again. And you see you got Gabe Butler in the number 1 machine, Kevin Freeze, Ryan Kelly, James Ledford, Chris Matthews. And then you got Jack Walls, Chad Wilkes, and Larry Yingling. So unfortunately, Dale Knott, you see him in the list there. This is going to be his last race of the season. He's going to have to step away, take care of. So he's going to be doing some moving, some work stuff going on for him. So been a lot of fun, but unfortunately, he won't be able to finish off this season. So it's been fun having him there, but it's going to be. Well, once we get him settled in, we'll find a way to drag him back in over here for sure. The other thing to mention on this side of things is we've got bounties this evening, and that is going to be Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling. These two have dominated the season so far, so we've got a little bounty on reward for the other drivers here tonight. If anybody can knock those two off the top spot tonight, they're going to basically, instead of it being $15 for the race win, it's going to be $50 for the race win. So a little extra incentive for these guys this evening. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this one's going to pan out. And then, last but not least, we've got a new assistant here this evening. I've got one of my buddies from way back from the NASCAR 2003 days, and that is Brandon Webb. Brandon, we're going to get your feet wet here in the broadcasting side of things. It's a lot of fun to have you in here. Maxwell, hope you're having a very happy birthday. So enjoy your evening. But Brandon, looking forward to calling a race here with you tonight.
Yeah, really looking forward to jumping in, helping out here. Hope I'm not dragging anything down. Luckily, you and I, we've gone way back and know each other pretty well, so we should have pretty good interaction throughout the entire race. But I think we're going to have a pretty fun race to call here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun this evening. Again, 100 laps of race distance. Sounds like the fuel window is going to be in the mid-30s or so, but I've heard drivers say anywhere from in the low 30s to maybe even like 38 or so. So with this being a 100-lap race, I suspect we will most likely see drivers, pending, of course, it going green, which you never know at these races, but I would think that might be, we see some drivers, Ryan Kelly's one of those ones we talk about week in, week out, going right on the number. Maybe we see him pit at that lap 33, 34 mark. Maybe someone tries to short pit them a little bit, or maybe we even see some drivers try to take a long run and try to pit a little later, take advantage of those fresh tires. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see. This track, pretty single grooved. I think turn 1 and 2 will be interesting. The low line, a lot of bumps, a lot of character. 3 and 4, however, I think you're definitely going to be on the low side here. So it'll be fun to see what these drivers what their decision is to where the best line's going to be tonight. I believe we've got just about 20 or so seconds left in qualifying. Drivers finishing up their laps here, and then we'll go over our starting grid. It looks like we should have about 15 or so drivers taking part in tonight. Again, 8 drivers in the playoffs, and it's going to be 4 races. Best of the 4 will be our champion for the season. So we'll have to see how it's all going to pan out here as qualifying is just now completing. And we will go over our starting grid. And it is going to be the number... I'm on the wrong grid there. Let's pull the right one up here. There we are. It's going to be the number 93 of Kevin Brown getting pole position here tonight at Las Vegas. Next to him, Chad Wilkes, 0.003 of a second between the two of them. Then you got Ryan Kelly in that 3rd spot. In 4th, you have Larry Yingling, Dale Knott in 5th. Kevin Freeze in 6th, Gabe Butler, Todd Merkel 7th and 8th, rounding the top 10, James Ledford and Jack Walls. Then 11th, 12th, you've got Michael Spell, Chris Matthews, and the remainder of the field taking part in tonight. Here you've got in 13th, Eric Laurie, 14th, Todd Kirkwood, and in 15th is Joseph DeCiro. All right, so we'll see track position. It's going to be interesting to see if that's going to come into play here or not tonight. I say, Brandon, I'm not sure. We know Kevin. We know he's very fast on the short run. It's something we talk about a lot in some of our previous broadcasts. But now the question is for Kevin here. He's got to make sure he can keep those tires underneath him for the full course of a fuel run. So that's where things can really kind of start getting a little tricky if he burns those tires off too fast.
Yeah, this track's going to be pretty abrasive tonight, I would think. So if we do get a lot of green flag runs, Kevin's one of those guys that can really lay down fast laps. He's the guy you want in the driver's seat with 2 to go on a restart. But let's see how he manages these tires. There's a lot of fast guys in that top 5 and really in the entire racetrack. So I think Kevin may be the one to watch. He's my pick for the one that I want to really keep my eye on for the rest of the night.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a lot of names to keep an eye on for sure. Obviously, those top 8 contenders for sure. But like I said, like we mentioned though, we're gonna be putting a bounty on those 2 drivers. The 13 of Ryan Kelly, who's gonna start in 3rd, and the 67 Larry Yingling is gonna start in the 4th position. So basically, row 2 are the two bounty drivers. Let's say they got the bounty placed on their heads. So we'll see if anybody's gonna be able to capitalize it this evening. I say those 2 have just been on a tear this season. We kind of expect those are going to be the 2 we expect to see coming to the Final 4 after the 4th race, I should say, battling out for the title. But again, last season was a winner-take-all finale. This season, it's going to be who did the best over the course of these 3 races. So I say it's not all about getting everything in the final race. You're going to have to do very well in all 4 of these ones. So we'll have to see who's able to manage not to have a bad race, or at least kind of minimize a bad race here with these guys here tonight.
Yeah, I think pit strategy is going to be pretty important in this as well. If we get a lot of long green flag runs, we'll just have to see how that shakes out. Who's going to manage those tires? Who's going to call the right strategy to be in the right track position at the end?
Yeah, exactly right. It's going to be a lot of fun to see, though. So you see a pace car just about to duck off here. It's going to hand it over to that number 93 of Kevin DeBrown. To his outside is the 17 of Chad Wilkes, waiting for that green flag to fly before we kick things off tonight. And green flag is out. We are down and away again. Scheduled distance 100 laps. Always potential for those green light checkered finishes. But it's going to be Kevin Brown and Chad Wilkes leading him into turn number 1. So far, so good. Kevin cannot clear that 17 car, so we'll see now. When we talk about the momentum on the top side, can Kevin get the power down here through the inside line? You see Chad, he's got great momentum here coming out of turn number 4. And it's going to be a drag race between the 2 of them. See who's going to lead this first lap. It's going to be the 17 of Chad Wilkes using that momentum on the high line to lead lap number 1. Now Larry Yingling is going to try to work over the 93 car as they come into turn number 1.
And this is one of those tracks that you see if someone does have a good run and can roll the center on the outside, they can really pinch off the run of the inside car and kind of loosen up that car in center and maybe even make them tight on exit. So it's always going to be interesting to see how the drivers will place their car around another.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's something I was noticing during practice. I was talking to some of the drivers about it as well, thinking that this might be a track where, especially in 3 and 4, I feel like where you might want to be able to run that middle to top groove, because I think if you keep a car pinned underneath you, it's really going to help things out. As it looks like actually Ryan Kelly is going to work around the 94 car or 93 car as well. I wonder maybe Kevin, so when we talked about him having that short run pace, this might be him trying to make a bit of an adjustment here, maybe try to back it off a little bit early. That way he can keep the momentum and keep the speed on late in the run. So I'll see maybe Kevin trying to make a little bit of a different approach here from what we're used to seeing out of that 93 car. So it'll be interesting to see how the pace continues on for him, as Kevin Freeze just got around that 93 car. Now Dale Knott's going to take a look as well. So say right now, the only thing though is, of course, you don't want to lose too much track position, as that 93 got dangerously close to the wall off of 2. So you don't want to lose too much track position though in the process of trying to save those tires.
Yeah, I think Kevin maybe he came into practice a little bit late as well, so he's probably getting a feel for how the track is reacting. He's seeing what the other cars are doing, where they're able to hold their momentum. Had a big slide behind him there a second ago, but I think he'll settle in. He usually does, and kind of find a groove and start working his way back up.
Yeah, it was Todd Merkel in the 2 car. Very good job chasing that thing and catching it. But yeah, it was almost a big moment for him through the infield grass. But cost him a few spots, but he's going to regroup and get back after it here. He's right next to the 48 of James Ledford here. They're right now right outside, or right in the top 10 positions between the 2 of them. Right now, another battle just in front of these guys. You have Chris Matthews, Jack Walls, Jack on the inside, Chris on the outside. Both of these drivers are playoff contenders here. So let's say, again, every point's going to matter. So let's say track position is going to be very critical. Of course, pit strategy as well. Say, of course, the bonus point for the pole position going to Kevin, say, so it's going to take one away from the from some of these competitors here in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Kevin not making the playoffs, but Chad Wilkes, of course, getting some laps led, so he's going to get a bonus point right off the bat there. But yeah, so say, of course, then there's the bonus points for the most laps led, highest climber, having a clean car at the end of this race with no incident points. So still a lot of bonus points that these guys are going to be aiming for to try to help themselves out through these final 4 races.
Yeah, I'm still glued to this battle back here for 8th and 9th. Jack Walls and who is that with him? Chris Matthews. They're still side by side back here. Chris will usually get a little bit of a run into the corner and then back it up, and Jack will come around the outside. They may be starting to sort it out now, but 2 or 3 laps straight of just straight side by side racing. Really fun to watch.
Yeah, so that's what's fun to see, is the fact that you can run side by side with these cars and with these drivers as well. They're going to give enough room. There's the give and take, and so that's really what you want to see from your fellow competitors. So yeah, like I said, Chris is able to get that spot. So that's bumped him now up into the 8th position. So right now he's +4 from his starting position. So we'll see if he can continue his steady climb through the field here. Next on his list is going to be the one of Gabe Butler, another one of those playoff contenders in that one machine as well. So I'd say of course, with the shorter field here this evening, so you're going to have a big chunk of them being in part of the playoffs. So again, every point, every position is going to be so critical throughout the course of these final 4 races.
Yeah, and we're already, 9 laps coming to 10 laps into this race. We're already starting to see these tires have an effect on the front group. The front 5 are really, you could throw a blanket under the entire group. It's really fun to watch. The times have dropped off close to a second in some cases, at least a half to 3/4. And I think we're going to fight that for the entire race. These guys, they're going to have to really figure out how far do I push it early in the tire run to make these things last for 30 or 40 laps or however long the fuel run is.
Yeah, exactly right. And say, like you said, Chad Wilkes now having to try to hold off some very strong competitors. And I say kind of new position for you to be here, Brandon. But I'll say that 13 car right there, taking a look at that second position. Ryan Kelly, he is Mr. Long Run. He is so good at saving his tires and having pace in that car. At the end of these races, halfway through and pretty much beyond. So I say Ryan's the one that I really want to watch once we get to about that lap 15-20 mark to see if he's able to do anything with Larry, with Chad here. So I think this is where things really kind of get into his wheelhouse. But like you said, I mean, you look at the front 4 or 5 drivers there right on top of each other. Say just a slight gap to Dale Knott there in the 94. I say he's got Kevin Brown right on him as well. So right now about a top 6 breakaway. Mentioned Chris Matthews. He's now actually jumped up into that 7th spot, got around that 1 car. But right now it looks like about a 6-car breakaway up front. Say the front 4 trying to see if they can break away from all of the rest of the field. So yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see what these guys are able to do here. And kind of see right now everybody's pretty much glued to the inside line, it looks like, all the way through. So we'll see if anybody starts to try to look at a different line, maybe get some fresh air on the nose of these cars.
Yeah, I think at this point everyone's just kind of riding, seeing where they stand, getting a feel for 10, 12 laps into this race where their cars are stacking up. The 13 and the 5 there, 3rd and 4th, are really, running well. I can tell it looks like they've got a little bit of extra in the tank, but they're trying not to push those tires too much early on. Looks like the 13 is checking out the high line, shopping around for a little bit of extra grip and a little bit of extra air, and making that pass look pretty easily if not for the 17 coming up to block them off there.
Yeah, it's a big power run there, like I said, from the 13. Found the middle groove and had a ton of momentum on the exit. Like I say, now he's kind of pinned between the 67 and the 17, so he's got to try to find a way. Because now this is tough for Chad Wilkes as well. Because now Chad's got to try to block the inside and protect the inside and the outside. But Ryan Kelly does complete that pass on Larry Yingling, so move Ryan now up into that 2nd position. And you see now Chad, I think, in reaction, saw that move to the top. He moved up about a half a groove there through 1 and 2. Ryan, though, hugging the white line there through the turns 1 and 2 as well. So, but again, 3 and 4, I feel like for the most part, most drivers probably going to pretty much hug the bottom side here. But I see one driver creeping back into the picture again. That's that 93 of Kevin DeBrown. I think he went to go for that tire save mode. He's going to try to take advantage of them now here. He's going to work over Kevin Freeze here, entering turn number 1. And we'll see if he's able to save enough to start making a charge here. And that's the thing, is we're only on lap 15. But it seems like that little bit goes a long ways with these cars. So, and saying the other one I'm going to be watching is Dale Knott. So I say he's, I think, been one as well that's just over the course of the season has just gotten more and more comfortable with the car, with his wheel setup and everything like that. And it seems like he's really good at kind of just keeping that car, those tires underneath him for the entire course of the field run, similar to that 13 of Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, the past 4 laps in a row, the Kevin Brown's been the fastest car on the track. So it looks like he's really settled into a groove, found what works for him, and made up at least one of those positions. So, talking about tires, though, I can't state it enough. We're almost a second and a half slower than the first 2 laps of the race. So there's going to be a lot of drop off here, but Kevin is starting to rebound. We kind of figured he would, and has been the fastest car on the track for the past 2 or 3 laps now.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be something these drivers are going to kind of take a notice of and say, okay, maybe we need to adjust our pace as well on these next runs here. So it will be a 2-stop race should we stay green. They should be able to make it easily in the 2 stops. Again, if they want to split it right on the dot, probably be pitting around 33, 34, and then 66, 67. But I believe these guys can go into the upper 30s as well. It just depends on what kind of tire strategy, fuel strategy you want to play with these cars right now. But the one thing I am noticing too, though, again, we talk about the grooves and everything. I feel like Chad Wilkes, he's starting to move around a little bit, trying to take away that top line from Ryan Kelly. He saw it work earlier, so I think he's trying to play a little bit of defense here, trying to run that more of that middle groove in 3 and 4. But like you said, though, last time by actually Chad Wilkes was the quickest car, but second quickest is right in that 93 car again of Kevin Brown. He's going to take a peek under Larry Yingling here in 3.
Yeah, definitely making a charge through the field, and these cars are going to be really, really aero sensitive tonight. So, watching Chad in the 17 car move around and try to take a little bit of the air off the nose of the 13, it's really fun to watch, and you're going to see that over and over again tonight. I look back to Kevin Brown. I noticed that he stuck his nose in there, couldn't quite get the drive off the corner, but stuck back in, and now he's working on the 67 car again, try to set him up for the long run.
Yeah, so right now kind of 2 little battles going on here for first and for third. You got the 17 and the 13, then you got the 67 and the 93. Both these guys really going after it right now. And I say at the moment, like I said, it looks like cleaner track position is going to be king right here. So that's, I think, again, where really the pit strategies could come into playing a big role in this one. So I'll say, again, if we split this fuel run evenly, I suspect we'd see drivers here in about 13, 14 more laps. So, but just somebody think about, hey, like you said, we've got about a 2-second almost difference on our fast laps to our current laps. If I short pit by a lap, I might be able to jump the whole field and get that track position and the clean air. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to see what the kind of what the call is, what the strategy is gonna be for these guys. So right now, let's say Chad Wilkes has been able to take the lead on that opening lap and has been able to hold on to it since. But again, still a long ways to go in this one.
Yeah, plenty of time here, but as we're starting to creep up on our pit window, these guys are going to get a little bit more desperate for big move, big block there on the back straightaway from the leaders. But these guys are going to start to get a little bit more desperate for that track position, that clean air. And what you're going to see, 2 seconds on the track if they can, pit early, can be a really big help to them, going forward. But I think the main concern is once these front tires get heat in them and get hot and a little bit slick, is it going to be a little more treacherous getting onto pit road?
Yeah, that's a good point. Say hopefully these drivers have practiced their pit entry. But you're right, though, that was a big block there. Well, I should say block, but a very big defensive move by Chad Wilkes. And honestly, I thought it was going to wind up hurting him more than help him, just because it looked like it was going to allow Ryan Kelly to be able to get to that outside. And like we saw with him getting around Larry Yingling, it might actually have put him in the perfect position. But that being said, though, Chad able to hold on to that. And we do have now about a top 4 breakaway with these guys. The 17, 13, 67, and 93. They've got about 2 seconds over Kevin Freeze here in 5th. And then also Dale Knott starting to close the ground on Kevin. But then also coming into the picture, that 83 of Jack Wallace. He's made a pretty good charge here. He's now up into that 7th position. Chris Matthews about 3/4 of a second back to him in the 8th position. So we'll run through the remainder of the grid of the field here right now. Todd Merkel about 3 seconds back in 9th spot. I mean, he's got a lot of traffic behind him. He's got he's got James Ledford and Michael Spell right on the back bumper of his car. And then you got Eric Laurie there in 12th, and then Gabe Butler here in 13th here. So those are the 13 cars right now on track, all in the lead lap at the moment. But yeah, right now everybody's kind of spread out a little bit here, but definitely got some pretty close action here with that 94 and the 83. Then, of course, up front, which I'm going to jump back to because Ryan Kelly is just on the outside edge of trying to get around that 17 car. And he is working them here down the front stretch. He's going to get to the inside here through the tri-oval.
Yeah, he is definitely getting a great run off the corner. But the thing that's also going to do, it's going to bring the 67 and the 93 back into this race. So the more those leaders race and keep it side by side, the easier that third and fourth place you're going to have to get back into this battle. And the 17 was able to clear him off of two. A really power move there to hold that lead. I think that was shows that maybe the 17's got a little bit extra in the tank on those tires.
Yeah, and you see the 93, Kevin Brown's been able to get around Larry Yingling as well as to move Kevin now up into third. So again, we'll see what the kind of the track position, what kind of speed he still has maybe left in those tires. Hopefully hasn't burned off too much in the course of this run, trying to work around some of these guys. But yeah, say look like Ryan Kelly maybe on the inside line in 1 and 2, maybe got a little bit loose there. And again, just you got to figure out where's the best place that you're going to need to position your car to make these passes, because you never know, of course, how these pit stop cycles are going to go, where you're going to be in relation to the competition. But at some point, you might be thinking, all right, you know what? If I'm going to make a pass, I'm going to start learning what I need to do towards the end of this race to make something happen to the end, to make that move to win this race potentially.
Yeah, the benefit that the 13 and the top second, third, and fourth have is they've got the ability to kind of try a few things on the car in front of them. The 17 is going to be a sitting duck if he's out there at the end and hasn't had the opportunity to see what his car feels like in dirty air and try to set up others for a pass. He's not going to know what to do on his own, but also what not to be able to defend against.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that Chad does have going for him, like kind of like you're mentioning on the, I guess, a counterpoint, if you will, is to say he knows what defenses have worked and maybe ones that haven't worked as well. So let's say he's been able to protect on the inside, protect the outside. So he's done a really good job of being able to keep that clean air on the nose and showing that I think that clean air is going to definitely be critical tonight. And so again, I think that's going to make these pit stops all that more important to see if you can be that one to make that strategy call to get out in front of the leaders. And so that might be, again, where maybe we see someone, instead of talking about splitting it evenly, pitting at 33 or 34, maybe we see someone come in at a 31, 32 just to try to get that undercut, if you will, to be able to take advantage of, like you said, about that 2 or so seconds of fresher tires.
Yeah, that one extra lap can be a huge benefit, and you're going to be entering pits on one lap fresher tires as well. This is not one of the more difficult pit roads to get onto, but coming off of these 20-24 degrees of banking onto basically nothing at race pace can be a little tricky, especially if you didn't practice that. So doing that on worn tires is going to be tough, but if you can do it on 1 or 2 laps fresher than the next guy, you can gain that time getting onto pit road, and then the time that you can take advantage of it once you're off on those fresh tires.
Yeah, exactly right. So say up front, things have kind of spaced out just a little bit here. So I'm watching Jack Walls and Dale Knott, because Jack's starting to put the pressure back on Dale here. This is for the top 5 position. So I said, of course, you always know if you can't win, you always want to get the next best thing, and say that's going to be get that top 5. And then, of course, then you look at the top 10s and things of that nature. So right now, these guys battling for that top 5 position. Right now, Dale has it. Jack wants it. And also a little further back, James Ledford, Todd Merkel, they're battling hard here. Same thing, they're battling for that top 10 spot as well. So I'll say a little bit of everything right now in these top 5, top 10 groups here. And say, like I said, though, I'm going to be watching the pit window here because it's just about to open here. We'll see if anybody's going to make the call here. And so far, yep, here comes our first driver making a call here and actually bringing one with him. It's going to be Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling coming in together, coming in lap number 32 here. So I'll say it's some strategy calls being made right now by our front runners.
Yeah, it looks like they got on the pit road pretty well, and I think that's going to be a really big benefit to them coming off of pit road. As long as they make a clean pit stop and a clean exit, they're going to come out and they're going to have an extra lap of a second, maybe 2. I'm looking at the previous lap times, and we're almost 2.5, if not more, off of our original start times. So I think this 1 or 2 laps of extra time on these fresh tires is really going to go a long way on track position.
Yeah, and no wait there. Chad Wilkes, Kevin Brown, they jumped right away into the pits as well. Kevin Freeze is going to hit pit road along with them, so that's going to cycle Dale Knott to the lead here. Again, hasn't made his pit stop yet, but I say at the moment he's going to cycle through with the lead with Jack Walls right behind him in second. Chris Matthews a little further back in third. Michael Spill, James Ledford fourth and fifth. So we'll see now. Maybe Dale's going to go maybe complete opposite strategy. May have just tried to get a lap length. Then maybe we see if he pits or not. And actually, up here he comes close there between the 94 and the 83 on the pit entry there. So that's going to bring Dale Knott into pit road here, coming to lap number 34. It's going to bring Chris Matthews, Michael Spell, and James Ledford, which will leave Jack Walls as the lone car to yet to make his pit stop. So next up is going to be where do our race leaders come out in relation to one another. Chad Wilkes leaving his pits now. Here comes 13 of Ryan Kelly with a huge head of steam. And that short pit is going to work here. That 13 is going to take the lead here once the pit stop cycle complete.
You know, going back to those pit stops, I was watching Dale come into the pits, and just like we mentioned before, you know, Dale tried to get in, you know, as aggressively as he can and safely as he can, and came very close to overrunning the pit road entrance there. So had to lock the tires up and really get that nose drop to get down to pit road speed. But it's kind of interesting how everything cycles out, and you know, tires can make all the difference in the world. It's a hard track to pass at, especially after the first 4 or 5 laps of the run. You really got to work hard to set someone up and get in the right position. So, you know, track position's the game we're going to play tonight, it looks like.
Yeah, saying that pit strategy working very, very well for that 13 of Ryan Kelly. He's been able to get to the front. Jack Walls is in pit road, need to mention. And now Chad Wilkes, he's going to try to see if he can find a way to work around that number 67 of Larry England. Gets right next to him. He's pinned right on that white line. It's a little tight, a little loose on the exit. Has to correct it, probably roll out of the throttle just a teeny bit. That's going to let Larry hold on to that second spot. So say this is where these guys, they got to make sure they don't fight too hard, because they say this is kind of now where you're in Ryan Kelly's wheelhouse here. Say give that man some clean air and then get some laps in those tires, and that's when he really is able to set sail. So these two have to make sure they don't fight too hard with one another to hurt their chances here. But right now Ryan Kelly takes over the lead. And I say we'll pull up. Let's say another thing that's always fun to see is the pit lane time with our top drivers here. And so you can see, I mean, it's very, very similar. Ryan Kelly, 44.2 seconds total in pit lane. Larry England, 44.6, 44.5 for Chad, 44.7 for Kevin DeBrown, 44.6 for Kevin Freeze. Pretty much everybody right in the 44-second bracket. So the only one that was out of the 44s was Chris Matthews with 45.4. So, I mean, from the fastest to the slowest in our top 8, 1.2 second difference of pit lane time. So, I mean, just shows how even these guys are, and that's why every 1/10 of a second counts with these things.
Man, the 67 and the 13 or excuse me, 67 and the 17 are racing as hard as they can for that little bit of track position, you know, inches apart from each other. The 17 is trying to get used to that dirty area. He hasn't had it the entire race. They almost made contact again.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of contact there through the trial. So they kind of sent Chad down the apron a little bit. Don't know if it'll be enough to affect either of their cars, but definitely is going to cost them some momentum. But again, what I feel like this is going to do, though, is just going to let Ryan Kelly just sneak away little by little here. Last time by, he was about 1/10 of a second quicker. And saying while this is all going on, they've been able to separate themselves as well from the 93 of Kevin DeBrown, but we'll see. Maybe Kevin's, again, trying to maybe do what he did on the first run and roll out a little bit, save that tire those first couple laps, and then be able to kind of really kind of get the most out of them on the remainder side of things. So I'm going to be watching that 93 car to watch the lap times as the laps start unfolding again. I'm going to say this time it shows that contact that we just talked about, though, Brandon, is 0.2 of a second quicker for Ryan Kelly over Larry Yingling that last time by.
The previous 2 laps before that, before these guys got side by side, they were the fastest cars on the track. So them getting side by side and then that little bit of contact, just let that draft get away from them. You know, that's probably one of the hardest things we as a driver that you deal with is, you know, when you're tucked up under another driver and you can stay close, you kind of have a little bit of a safety net regardless of the tire situation. But the further that car in front of you gets away, the harder it is to keep pace with them and to keep your emotions under check and really save your tires. But that contact and that side-by-side racing has definitely let Ryan Kelly create a pretty large gap.
Yes, and I don't think they're done yet. They're going to go after it again here in 3 and 4 back, and then start through the trial here one more time. And saying that's the thing is, I mean, right now Chad's got the short distance, but Larry's got the momentum. So say we were joking about it during the broadcast or before the broadcast, but you might get the opportunity here because we're talking about maybe being able to pull a certain phrase from a most popular driver, but again, though, just can't quite complete that pass.
Yeah, I think a little bit further into the race when either one of these guys is going to lose their patience, or we just get down to the wire. If we see this side-by-side racing here in about 30 or 40 laps, I think this is going to be a little bit of a different thing, and I think that phrase from the most popular driver may just have to make an appearance.
As it looks like he just finally is able to complete that pass. We'll see if Larry's able to kind of try to cut underneath him. I'm wondering if this is also Larry saying, like, all right, you know what, we can't keep battling like this. We're just going to keep losing time. So maybe it's kind of one of those, okay, I'm gonna take the loss right now, let you get by here, and we got to get back after. We want to chase Ryan Kelly back down because he's now stretched out to about 1.1 seconds over Chad Wilkes now in second position. But again, lap times though, I mean, these guys, again, last time by, they were running about a tenth or two slower. This time it was about actually 300ths of a second quicker for Chad Wilkes. However, again, quickest car of that last lap though, 93, Kevin Brown, closing the gap to our front runners again.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge where Kevin's going to wind up here at the end of the tire run, because at the end of the last one there had been some dicing and regaining of track position, but this time the track's a little bit more spread out. I think what I'm seeing and what I'm taking away from this is that Kevin is probably saving his tires a little bit more at the beginning of the run, but in the middle of the run he's really coming in and becoming one of the faster cars on the track. So with this session being a little bit more spread out than the last, I'll be really interested to see if he can chop down that deficit. It looks like he's taken 2 to 3 tenths a lap off of it right now, and we'll see if he can just maintain that. If he does that same gap lap after lap, he's going to be back up in the mix in no time.
Yeah, exactly right. But then, of course, it's the getting there and passing is a whole different story. But yeah, right now, like you said, he's been closing gap. It's about 2 tenths of a second. This time by, it looks like another 2 tenths on Ryan Kelly. Actually, 4 tenths on Larry Yingling. So I think that battle between Chad and Larry's really kind of abused the tires on that 67 car, not having the pace he's wanting to have right now. But right now, there's 2 quickest cars on track right now, actually. It's that 93 car of Kevin Brown and also the 83 of Jack Walls, as he's still back in that 7th position, as he was able to get around Chris Matthews. But he's starting to close that gap back up on the 94 of Dale Knott. And again, he went the furthest of anybody before his first pit stop, so he's going to have slightly fresher tires. We'll see if that comes into play. So it's only about a lap or two, but we've always seen that tires always make a big difference. So say if he took care of him kind of getting back up to speed, that 83 car, again, actually, this time he is by far the quickest car by about a full tenth over everybody. So yeah, so Jack Wall is going to try to see if he can maybe find himself back into that top 5 like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and watching those lap times, it's kind of interesting to watch. The guy leading the race right now on the last lap was one of the slower cars on the track. He's adjusting to being out in clean air, because being out in clean air is great, especially on the short run, but it's an adjustment for these guys. So I think it's kind of interesting to watch that he's one of the slower guys on the track on the last lap by a pretty narrow margin, but still we'll see how that progresses, and if this front pack is going to start coming back together again.
Yeah, I mean, it is down to, again, about now 1 3/4 of a second between first and fourth. So I mean, that gap is starting to shrink between all of these 4 again. And like you said, let's say last time by, yeah, 32.15 for Ryan, 32.04 for Chad, 07 for Larry, and a 31.91 for Kevin Brown. So like we said, Kevin's again just rolling him in little by little. He's actually going to get to the outside of that 67 car. So I think that's Larry knowing he's abused his stuff. He said, you know what, there's no sense fighting this again. I'm just going to let that 93 car by. So move Kevin now up into the 3rd position. And then also a little further back, Dale Knott was one of the quickest cars as well that last time by, and he's starting to close that gap a little bit on Kevin Freeze, while again Jack Walls tries to chase him back down. So we mentioned that battle for that top 5, and say not too far out the window, as well as is that number 92 of Chris Matthews as well, trying to join this party also. So these guys are all going to try to find a way to get back with one another here. But man, just right now the lap times though, they're looking very good for this 93 car. Again, he was over 2 tenths of a second quicker than our top 2.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a different Kevin Brown tonight. I was able to kind of overhear a conversation between Kevin Brown and Dale Knott earlier in the day. And Dale was talking about saving his tires, and he's historically very good at that. So I think that some of that information may have rubbed off on Kevin. Kevin's historically a very fast and especially a short run driver, but he's really doing a great job pacing these tires. He almost got into the wall off of 2 that last lap, but overall he's running very consistent times and reeling these guys back in. I think if he keeps this up, he's going to be right there in the mix.
Yeah, so I think he's doing what he needs to do. You wonder if also for Chad Wilkes, did he maybe burn up his stuff a little too much trying to fight with Larry as well, as we just crossed the halfway point in this one. So say we've got 50 down, 50 to go. And again, right now, Kevin Brown last time by, again, another 10th quicker than Ryan, 2 tenths quicker than Chad here. So again, catching is one thing, passing is another. So we'll see, can Kevin do enough to get around? He pitted on the same lap as Chad Wilkes, so those Say tire-wise, it just depends on what they've saved. They say they in and out the same laps. They do have a lap over Ryan, but again, Ryan's had clean air all this whole second run, and again, we talk about how good he is as well on the long run. So it's going to be kind of having to beat Ryan at his best right now with what they're doing here at Las Vegas. But the other thing here with this, Brandon, is we're coming up not too far away again. Let's say we're on lap 52, so we talked about that 33.66 mark. I mean, we're only about, I'd say, really honestly, probably only about 10 laps away from the early side of the window opening. And based on what we saw from Ryan Kelly taking the lead, I think one of these drivers is going to have to react and try to see if they can pull that undercut that we saw Ryan Kelly do.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it wouldn't be a terrible plan for somebody like Kevin, or even maybe one of these back guys that, like Jack Walls, running the fastest laps in the field right now. I almost wonder if it wouldn't be a terrible idea for those guys to pit a lap or two before everyone. Maybe, you know, see if they can stretch that fuel a little bit further, just to take advantage of those fresh tires a little bit quicker. You know, these guys that are able to save these tires and be really quick at the end of the run may be able to take advantage of that long run speed by pitting a little bit earlier and getting ahead of that.
Yeah, so here goes Kevin going to try to work over that 17 of Chad Wilkes. We'll see if I say it's not going to be as easy as it was with Larry. He's going to send it here into turn number 1, but again, look at the momentum Chad's able to carry through 1 and 2. And I say this is the thing, like I said, you can get there, but then how do you get around him? And I think right now it's like that's exactly what Kevin's going to be encountering, is he's going to have a hard time getting around the 17 car, because again, I mean, if you don't want to give up any track position. We've seen how critical it's been so far in this juncture. So right now Chad's going to do what he can to hold that 93 at bay, and that's going to be exactly what Ryan Kelly wants to see. Even though with that battling, actually Chad Wilkes is about a tenth quicker than that 13 car.
Yeah, these top two are still moving up. They're still gaining and cutting down that gap. 7 or 8 laps ago, Kevin was setting almost 3 seconds back, and he's cut it down to under a second now. So they're really starting to come back together. I think if these guys do stay in line, it may not favor Kevin in the long run, but if Kevin can get around them and especially just make a quick pass, I think Kevin's going to be able to cut this gap down in no time.
Yeah, so you also have to wonder at one point if they maybe look at trying to somehow maybe work together, or maybe Kevin, say, instead of trying to make that pass, maybe just push that 17 car in that backstretch, try to kind of help propel that speed a little bit. Because last time by, top 4 were all separated by about 0.04 of a second, a 48 at the quickest to a 52 at the slowest. So, I mean, these guys are right on top of each other. But you can see Kevin is just carrying so much momentum through the turns, just isn't quite enough to get around the 17 car. And we saw him try the inside earlier. It didn't seem like it worked, so I think at this point he's going to have to try to work the top side, maybe use that momentum like we've seen earlier. But he's going to have to hit his marks perfectly. As you see, he's trying to work that basically about a groove up, but you can see just wasn't really the grip he needed to have there.
Yeah, he's been working that line. I almost wonder if he's setting back right now and trying to set up and see if he can find that run on the high side. But if he doesn't get it, it looks like he's trying to not stick his nose out and burn up his tires by trying to run the bottom line, which I think is a smart move. They're not losing any ground to the leader right now, and they're coming down to the end of the pit cycle here in the next probably 5 or 6 laps. So it's not a terrible idea for Kevin to bide his time, to be patient. Still a lot of race left here. A lot can happen in the next 40 laps or so. Yeah,
exactly right. So like I said, he's just, I mean, and the other thing too, of course, is maybe just try to hound that 17 car, just keep that pressure on him, maybe force him into a mistake here. As see, now looks like Kevin got a great entry into 3. He's able to actually kind of cut it underneath the 17, but again, not enough to complete the pass. But you see, he's trying to peek to that outside. He wants to get the outside on, but look at that. Chad Wilkes is going to protect the outside. I'll say it's not very often you see drivers protecting the outside line. I'll say Kansas is one that comes to mind, but other than that, you usually see everybody wanting that bottom line. But man, I'll say it's showing that they know where the momentum is here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things we discussed in pre-race is you know, if you're on that outside line, you can really do a good job of pinching down the car that's on the bottom. You know, the 17 has been able to do that most of the night when he was battling with the 67 earlier, and when the 93 tried to get a run under him before. I think that's probably the main reason that Kevin has really tried to just follow in his tire tracks and look for an opening on the high side. But he better do it pretty quickly, because what I'm seeing is that 13 is kind of coming back into his tires again. The last 2 laps, he's been the fastest on the track. So he's going to start separating that gap a little bit.
Yeah, and I think at some point you're going to have to kind of, again, I think you're going to have to roll the dice and make that strategy call before he gets too far away as well. You have to figure out when is that kind of that cutoff window, if you will, in the tires. When does it make the most sense to maybe try to pit that a little bit early? Say, oh, contact between
they get together.
Yeah, it was contact between two of them. They stay green, so they're able to hang on to it. So we'll take a quick look back at the contact and say, just again, I think we just saw a little bit of the aggression that we talked about. We'll take a look and see how it all unfolded. Say probably just both drivers trying to fight for the same real estate there. As you see, yeah, it says Chad starts turning in. Expected Kevin to turn in when he did, but did not. But a great save by that 17 car. And I think it actually looks like he's going to react now with that contact, and he's going to hit pit road right off the bat here. So say he's going to be the first of our leaders to try to make this pit decision. I think this is a good call. Hopefully he didn't lose too much time with that contact. So say that's going to bring Chad Wilkes into pit road. So I think at this point, if you're some of these other drivers, you're going to have to really consider jumping in really quick here. I'm going to watch Ryan Kelly as well to see if Ryan's going to react to this. Maybe he hits pit road coming at lap 63. He's going to stay out, and it looks like Larry and Kevin as well. So I'm a little surprised they don't react to Chad Wilkes there. But actually looks, we'll see, actually I think he's still getting service, and he's now down and away. I'm not sure if you know, Brendan, if he lost a lot of track position doing that, like if he lost multiple seconds or not. But this could wind up being a kind of a blessing in disguise for him to get back to the point here with those fresh tires.
Yeah, I'm not sure about body damage or anything like that, but it looked like he made contact with Kevin, but I couldn't tell if he made contact with the wall after that. He was able to right the car pretty quickly, but I did notice that Kevin Brown did receive a little bit of right front damage, and because of that, the next 2 laps, he was a little bit further off the pace. So he's coming to pit road now. He's probably going to take 4 new Goodyears and hopefully fix a little bit of that right front damage. Hopefully it didn't knock the toe out.
I was saying, actually, to say one thing I never got to mention to you, so just to add a little bit of potential and intrigue to this is this league does have 1 fast repair in their pocket. So I suspect with Kevin where he is, he's going to probably need to use that, and I think he does use that fast repair. So I say now, of course, that's all he has for the rest of the race. Dooney mentioned we talked about Jack going long this last time. He does pit now, so he's going to short pit like we talked about. Also bringing Michael Spell in with him. Dale Knott, he's now hitting pit road as well. So now it's going to be again.
Car gets sideways and gets into the wall coming onto pit road.
Which car numbers? I'm sorry.
Evan Freeze in the 5.
Oh, in the 5.
Oh,
pit road,
you're
right.
Got locked at the rear end and got into the inside wall. That's heartbreaking for one of the fastest cars in practice.
Yeah, he's definitely had a lot of pace. Unfortunately, like I said, a little mistake on pit road entry. And here comes Ryan Kelly. He's going to react. He's going to hit pit road. And so what I'm going to be interested to see is where some of these drivers come out in relation to one another. So we're going to be watching for that as well. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 17 of Chad Wilkes is significantly in front of the 93 of Kevin DeBrown. So we'll look at the pit stop times one more time once everything cycles through. But right now I think Chad Wilkes might be in the catbird seat. As Larry Yingling, I believe, Larry's yet to make a pit stop. He's running running this stint long in that 67 car, and he's got all but 3 cars trapped a lap down right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Larry there because these tires, they do burn off pretty quickly. I wonder if he's trying to shorten up the distance when it comes to this last segment. But these tires fall off pretty quickly, and then it's a tenth or so a lap. So I think it's something to keep an eye on as we go a little bit further. And the 17 splitting the hairs there, going between the 67 and the 48. So. The 17 has got great pace. I'll be interested to see where he shakes out after all these tire strategy as well.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm looking at, I think he's going to cycle through as the race leader by a significant amount. Right now, now he's being shown as the only driver on the lead lap. So yeah, so Larry, I think at this point he's just wanting to try something different here, maybe catch a break on a caution or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the pit road time, and yeah, I mean, Chad Wilkes, he definitely had a great pit lane time. It was 40. Here comes Larry Yingling. He's going to make his stop now. But I'm going to show the gap, though, between Chad Wilkes now and second place, eventual second place, Kevin DeBrown. Because you see right now, there is the 17 going through 1 and 2. You have to come back now, Kevin just entering 1 and 2. So, I mean, that's a big difference between the two of them. And also need to mention, Kevin is ahead of Ryan Kelly as well. So, like I said, depending on how these tires shake out, I mean, that contact could have been the perfect... like I said, kind of a blessing in disguise, honestly, for that 17 car. those two making the contact, but then him jumping in early in response to it has actually cycled him now back to the point.
Yeah, that's definitely helped him on the pit strategy, track position game. I think the 17, and that's kind of an unexpected byproduct, not knowing about and being able to take advantage of the pits and those new tires is really going to go a long way. But we'll see how that goes over the next 30 laps or so. Right now, he has got a massive gap, so that was kind of an unexpected change. I definitely didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I would never guess that big of a difference right now. Like I said, 4 seconds between first and second. Now, again, as he enters one, Kevin just coming through the tri-oval and saying he's got Ryan Kelly starting to get back on his heels here as well. So this has been the biggest spread on the pit stop cycle as well here. So we'll pull up our pit stop lap for our leaders here. So you can see now Chad Wilkes the first to pit there on lap 61. Yeah, Kevin Brown 63, 65 for Ryan Kelly, 68 for Larry Yingling, and then you see Jack Walls, Dale Knott, Chris Matthews, Kevin Freeze around 63, 64 for all of those guys. But yeah, so I mean, and that's the thing too. If like it feels like the gap he has, it feels like it should be like, oh, he pit like 5 or 10 laps before those guys. It was only 2 laps, so. I don't know.
I think that just shows how aggressive he had to have been getting on and off of pit road as well. Yeah. I think it was probably a last-minute, last-ditch decision for him because he wasn't expecting the contact, I'm sure, but then pitted the very next lap to take care of it. So in a way, maybe not thinking about it for him kind of made that a little bit quicker. It's just going to really be interesting. My only concern is, can he make it on fuel?
That's true. So he pitted on 61. We got to go to 100. So yeah, you're right. That is 39 laps. So that's going to be right on the edge. We talked about that pit window. I think I heard 38 at one point. So that is a very valid concern, Brendan. Now that I think about that, I didn't even consider the fuel mileage side of things. I said the other problem that he's got going for him now is you've got drivers on fresher tires trying to get their laps back right now, like you see Todd Merkel and James Ledford. Say they pitted about 4 to 5 laps later than Chad Wilkes, and you also have to wonder how much tire did Chad get rid of by making probably such quick laps out of the pits. Hopefully not abusing them too much, but I mean last time by, and actually do need to mention we got a battle here going on for that second spot here, and this could wind up being a battle for the lead between that 93 and the 13. So Kevin's gonna have to run Ryan very hard here. You see him trying to stay right on the door, but Ryan Kelly holding his line very well. These guys now putting on a really good fight here for that second spot.
Yeah, I think Kevin's probably going to fall back into that rhythm here. He's got to caution himself about not overrunning these tires. That's kind of what's made him fast the entire race, is being able to moderate the tires in the early part of the run. They're both gaining on first place. I wonder if the 17 car is saving his equipment. It could be tires, but he could be saving a little bit just to make sure that he's got a little bit of fuel in the tank, especially if we have a green-white checkered at the end. So, Kevin got a little bit loose there coming off of 4 and let the 13 widen that gap a little bit. But Kevin just needs to make sure he stays calm and moderates those tires like he's done the last 2 runs, and I think he'll be in a really good position.
Yeah, so the one advantage that Ryan has is he does have slightly fresher tires to Kevin here. So say he's got that to his advantage now, and of course now has a little bit of clean air as well. But yeah, like you said, it is possible that Chad Wilkes is maybe trying to save some fuel, save some tire now that he's got that gap. But again, I mean, he's given up about a half a second a lap the last couple of times, even with those two running side by side like they were. And like I said, also was kind of stuck in a tough spot between some of the drivers trying to get their laps back as well. And the other thing, of course, too, this is all, of course, pending Kevin being in second place still if and when they get to him, is after that contact, Chad's not going to be happy about what had just happened. So I could see them that race being even a little bit more aggressive than we saw that last time around.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to roll over and let that pass happen easily. So if there's not contact, it's still going to be probably the most difficult pass of the day for the 93 car for sure.
I was saying, while we've been talking about them, again, also mentioning Larry Yingling, he went the furthest of those guys, pitting at 68. Right now, he is a solid about 7 seconds off the lead, about 5 seconds off of Kevin. But he is also running very quick lap times. Right now, I believe one of the quickest cars on track. But Ryan Kelly, though, running 31.55 to Larry's 31.41, so not that bad for Ryan as well. Like I said, with those 3-lap older tires, and he's been able to really start putting the gap on Kevin in that 93 car now up to about a 7/10 of a second gap. And that lead to Chad, I mean, it's already down to just about a second. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Chad's just trying to really baby those tires before Ryan gets to him and then really kind of put the pace back on, or again, fuel saving potentially. So yeah, so this race is kind of opened up, and a lot of different strategies going on right now.
Definitely there is, and the 17's got to be careful as well. If he is backing up his corner, trying to get off the throttle as much as he can, that can change your entry, and therefore it can change the way these tires wear. You would think that would be a good thing overall, but if you change your throttle input going into the corner, it can actually make the car looser, especially coming off the corner over the long run. So he's got to be careful that he doesn't get some unexpected handling characteristics on the long run. Luckily, he's got the 48 car there as a little bit of a pick and a buffer, but the 12 car, or excuse me, the 13 car is on his way.
Yeah, Ryan making some big moves, I say. So before that battle kicks off, we'll see if it's before it or not, because I say actually we'll hold on because Ryan Kelly's already down to about 0.4 of a second here, and again looks like 0.3 of a second quicker, 31.86 to 32.17 for Chad. And then a little further back, Larry Yingling, he's putting on some big numbers as well, 31.53 for Larry. So I'll say again, Larry's going to try to get the best out of his tires as well. But again, we talked about those guys are all within about 2 seconds of one another, kind of mid-pack or mid-race through that second run. Now they're spread out by about 5 seconds as things run. But again, I mean, you can see again the gap just visually closing. We talked about 0.4, now it's 0.2 of a second. As Chad Wilkes got a little loose there, it looked like on the apron.
Yeah, it's easy to do. It's easy to do if you really change your inputs, especially your throttle inputs, into these runs, and act a little bit differently, on the long run, just because of whether you're saving tires or saving fuel, and you haven't been driving the car the same way. It can definitely change the way the car handles, even if all these cars have had the same setup for the entire race. Having a little bit of air packed under that spoiler, and it looks like the 13's ready to make a run now. So let's see if the 17 can pinch him down and hold on to that spot.
Yeah, so we just have to fight very hard here between that 13 and 17. We've seen him do it all race long and be able to really protect, but I think this has been the biggest tire difference we've seen between these two drivers as well. So I'll say it looks like Ryan won't clear it here out of turn number 2 as they go side by side through the backstretch here. Again, we'll see what Chad can do in defense of that 17 car. Maybe gets a little too high here through 3 and 4. This might be the opening Ryan needs. I think Ryan's just going to clear Chad Wilkes, so that's exactly what, if you're Ryan Kelly, you needed that to happen, because the longer you're side-by-side, the harder it's going to be. But I think we're going to see Chad probably try to see if he can get back to his inside or outside just to try to keep that fight on. But it looks like Ryan's going to now start building some gap over him, now about 0.2 of a second between the two.
Yeah, the 17 really did not want to see that. He's the entire race been the hardest car to pass. He's been able to maintain pressure on the outside line and really keep the car on the inside from unwinding that wheel and getting full throttle back coming off. But I think the two cars that really didn't want to see that happen are the 93 and the 67. The 67 is still running the fastest laps, and at 3.5 to 4 seconds back on the track, still definitely has a chance here. He's still gaining, but with green air again and clean air on that 13's nose, I think that made that a little bit more difficult for the second, third, and fourth cars.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think at this point, if we stay green, it might be a battle for second at this point. But you never know. Say these things, you never know how they're going to end up here. So we're going to come across 16 go, but we are going to run through the field here real quick. So right now, Ryan Kelly leading Chad Wilkes by about that 0.6 of a second. Kevin DeBrown there in third, about a second off of Chad. Larry Yingling sitting in the 4th position. I said with making some of the fastest laps right now, so he is going to get there. Then can he do anything with it once he does? In 5th, Jack Walls is saying Dale Knott starting to creep in on him a little bit here, about 0.2 quicker that last time by, a lap difference on the tires for those two. So we'll see if Dale can use that slightly fresher tire to his advantage in 6th position. And then a little bit further back in 7th is the 92 of Chris Matthews. He's in a nice little pocket here, so nobody around him in front or behind. And then unfortunately, like you mentioned, Brandon, a little earlier, unfortunately that pit entry mistake by that 5 of Kevin Freeze has dropped him back into the 8th position. And then about 2 seconds back in 9th is the 88 of Michael Spell. He's had a pretty quiet but solid race here so far. And then in 10th position right now, the last car on the lead lap is the number 2 of Todd Merkel. We saw him fight to get his lap back, so he's back on the tail end of the lead lap. And then a couple cars a lap down here at the moment include that 48 of James Ledford, who's still right behind the 17 of Chad Wilkes. The 1 of Gabe Butler, who's, again, that's going to be the lucky dog battle. If he can get to him, that's going to be crucial for him as well. and then the 071 of Eric Laurie just a little further back as well. So that is the field as they run at the moment. Right now, the closest battle though on track right here, it's going to be between Jack Walls, Dale Knott. Again, Dale starting to slowly but surely try to close that gap about a half a tenth quicker the last time by. About 3.5 tenths between them. I'm going to keep an eye on the intervals up front. But right now, Jack and Dale are having a pretty good battle here. Again, this is one of those things we talk about bragging rights, Brandon, and say this is one of those, you want to get that top 5 finish, and that's what these guys are looking for right now.
Well, especially with both of these guys being in the playoffs, I believe. You know, every point matters, every position matters, and we're dealing with the top 5 here, so you know it's even that much more important. So you know, bragging rights go a long way, but in the end, both of these guys, I know I'm relatively certain. I'm not looking at the points in front of me now, but relatively certain that both of these guys are in the playoffs. So this is a big position for these guys.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, that could be the difference between, like I said, depending on how the rest of the season goes for these final 4 races. You see Dale have to put a little bit opposite lock in there, a little loose there on exit. But yeah, and also keeping it on that gap up front. So right now, Kevin Brown's been able to close it to about 5 tenths of a second on Chad Wilkes. Larry's been able to close it to about 8 tenths on Kevin. So we're going to be jumping up there pretty shortly. You say this has, again, been a really good battle between these two. As you can see, Dale's just got right to him, but then he's going to have to try to find a way around him. And that's going to be the same situation for Kevin and Chad and Larry. They're going to be in that same boat here in probably just the next couple lapses. Say Ryan Kelly, he's enjoying life right now. He's got 11 to go. He's got about a 1.4 second lead, and he's got a lot of clean track in front of him.
Yeah, I've moved back up here to the front. I don't know which battle is more interesting. The one with Dale Knott and Jack Walls is a lot of fun to watch, but we've got Kevin Brown closing the gap in on the 17. He's definitely just judging by his entry and exit and kind of watching his throttle and how much he's working that wheel. Definitely getting a little more aggressive. He's starting to feel the pressure there. Last time by, he was just a tick faster than the leader, but really still fastest car on the track, the 67. It's trying to put his nose back in this battle and maybe work his way into a podium.
Yeah, so I definitely would not put it past Larry to get into that position, because I say the other thing is that if Kevin can get to Chad, you know they're going to be battling hard, and that's going to allow Larry to really gain a lot of time in a short amount of time. Might be able to take advantage of that and be able to kind of get a 2-for-1, if you will. However, I do need to mention, actually, we do have that. I say while we were watching that, there was a position change. Say Dale Knott got around the 83 of Jack Walls. We'll jump back and try to take a look at it here real quick so we can see that past 4 position. Oh, Jack gets very loose off of 4. I think that was enough to let Dale get. Oh, actually, Jack I'm amazed he didn't crash that car, actually. Great hands, I'll say. I'm sure that was some pretty big pucker factor for that number 94 of Dale Knott as well. But we're going to jump back live here again, though. So that's how Dale's able to get back into the top 5. But we're going to jump back to this battle again for that second position, because Kevin is definitely closing. Larry has gotten around the 48 of Jack Walls. So we've got a 3-car battle here for second and third.
Yeah, at this point in the race, no one's car feels good. Half the field's running tight. The rest of the field's probably a little bit loose off. You know, everybody's searching for air. They're searching for grip. The 93, you can see him going to the high line to see if he can get a good run down the back straightaway. He learned his lessons last time, I would think. He raced with the 17 car, made a little contact, so he's not going to have an easy time getting around him this time. But I think he knows he doesn't want to be on the inside, but it's very hard to get your nose on the outside to make that run. So, you know, all that time, though, the 67 car is closing that gap little by little. The race for the race for second and third and fourth is becoming really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, so these are definitely the closest battles we've got on track at the moment. They've now down to about 2.5 tenths between Kevin and Larry, 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths actually now between Chad and Kevin. So these guys are all right on top of each other. So it's and that's the question for Kevin. We saw him try to work the inside. We saw the contact between them. So in response to, okay, maybe Kevin tries to make the outside line happen. But the thing is, I mean, that leaves you a little bit susceptible. I mean, if you've got someone that's probably not very happy with you after that initial contact, I'll say you might not want to try to work their outside, because let's say at that point there's a kind of a barrier that you're going to wind up against if things go sour.
Well, not only that, but you know, running that outside line just opens up the bottom line for the 4th place car. You know, right now he's not only trying to gain a position, he's trying not to lose a position. So he's really in a little bit of a bind here in between a car that he's probably a little apprehensive to get around, and then a car that's not going to be apprehensive to stick his nose in and try to pass him as well.
Yeah, exactly right. As you see right now, 3 different lines. You got Chad on the bottom, Kevin in the middle, Larry on the top here. So they are trying to find something to like I said, trying to find the momentum, find a groove that works for them. But right now, they say they're all just kind of getting right into the same position here. Now Kevin's going to run the middle, Larry's going to run the bottom as they come through 3 and 4. Up front, Ryan Kelly, like I said, loving life here, is going to cross the line. We're going to be at 4 to go as he crosses that start-finish line. We've got about a 2-second gap over Chad, and it is on for second and third. Just we don't know what order it's going to be in at this point.
Yeah, at this point, the second, third, and fourth place guys are all fighting dirty air. None of their cars feel good. They feel like they're driving skates right now. So it's going to be interesting coming down. We're at the end of the race. Everybody's a big move to the inside by the 17. So let's see if that disrupts his typical line and lets the 93 and the 67 create a little bit of a position or gain a little bit of time there. It looked like he came off the corner just fine, though. So
he had a great run. Yeah, you're spot on there. So, yeah, these guys are, I was saying, like you said, they're all kind of evening back out as well. Say lap times are just about solidified. I think that crossover point, they've kind of hit that same thing as Ryan Kelly. He's crossed around. He's 3 to go. Not forgetting about you, Ryan, but we got a really good battle here for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, at this point, it's almost worth just sitting back, letting the cars do the talking. We're coming down to the wire, and second, third, and fourth is totally up for grabs at this point.
Yeah, saying if you're Ryan Kelly, you just want to see that white flag coming that way. At that point, this thing's official. Next flag would end it. So he does not want to see that late race yellow, because we've seen it before in other leagues. We've seen it in the actual NASCAR itself. Ryan Kelly's just telling these drivers, all right, you guys just keep it clean here. I want to get this win to open off the playoffs here and try to see if I can get that title here for this season. So we'll watch Ryan Kelly as he comes across the line. It looks good. I think we are going to get that white flag as he comes across through the apron. He takes that white flag. So Ryan Kelly going to grab the white flag as, again, that battle for second at this point. Right now, Chad's holding on to it, but it's not going to be for lack of effort between Kevin and Larry trying to get it.
Yeah, these guys are pushing, giving it all they can, and right now he's taking the leader's taking the white flag. So we're sitting here. We're in a situation where the next flag is going to end the race. Kevin is putting pressure on the 17. Maybe made a little bit of contact down the back straightaway, but let's see how the 17 looks like. He ate up that pressure and still came off a turn 4 down there and is going to close out on that second place finish.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's going to grab the win, bring Chad Wilkes in second, Kevin Brown in third, Larry Yingling going to bring it home in fourth. And a little further back, rounding out the top 5, is going to be that number 94 of Dale Knott. Then Jack Walls in the 6th position. And Chris Matthews is going to finish in 7th here tonight in that 92. And it looks like the last 2 cars in lead lap are going to be that 5 of Kevin Freeze. Even if the mistake stays on the lead lap, not the result he's going to want, but still a hard-fought finish for him. And then Todd Merkel going to round out our lead lap drivers, I should say, in the 9th position. But up front, it's going to be Ryan Kelly getting the win this evening. You see the drivers congratulating him on that one. Give him a couple nudges. And then we'll watch Ryan here celebrate. Dale's going to try to catch him before he celebrates as well. And Ryan's going to celebrate a well-earned victory here tonight at Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think this was one of those races that as a true race fan that you sit back and watch and appreciate the strategy that goes into it. Sometimes the fastest car wins, and in this case the 13 was obviously, you could make a case that he was the fastest car all night, but he definitely played the strategy card correctly, managed his tires properly, and he's doing burnouts because of it right now. Yeah,
exactly right. So definitely plenty of fuel to celebrate here tonight at Las Vegas, as you see him on the front stretch here on the apron. And while we watch him celebrate, we'll go ahead and pull up our final results for tonight's event. And so you got Ryan Kelly getting the win, 1.6 seconds over Chad Wilkes, Kevin Brown in third, 1.8 off, then Larry Yingling 2 seconds off. So again, just basically 0.2 of a second between the second, third, and fourth. That just shows how close those guys were all the way through. In 5th, Dale Knott grabbing that top 5 over Jack Walls in 6th, Chris Matthews in 7th, Kevin Freeze 8th, Todd Merkel in 9th, rounding out our lead lap finishers. And then in 10th, you got James Ledford, Gabe Butler, Michael Spell, Eric Laurie. Unfortunately, drivers not able to make the event. Todd Kirkwood, Joseph DeCiro, finished in 14th and 15th, respectively. So with that, Brendan, we got some drivers to chat with. So I think we're going to get some alternating views, I have a feeling, because we get to talk to 2 of those drivers that were kind of involved in that incident during that second run. So it's you never know how the interviews are going to go. So we're going to start off with that number 93 of Kevin DeBrown. So let's hunt him down here, and we will bring him on over. And we're going to pull in that number 93 of Kevin DeBrown. Kevin, it was definitely not for a lack of effort. I say we saw you kind of switched it up tonight. I say you didn't go full aggression. I say look like you try to work those tires in and then try to make the most of them at the end of the run. And it definitely looked like it was going well. But of course, obviously the big thing we saw tonight, of course, that little bit of contact between you and the 17. I'll say don't want to say shades of last season because I say, I mean, it was just hard racing. You guys, it obviously very difficult to pass. But I mean, just take us through the race. I mean, is there anything different that you feel like you could have or should have would have done if you had the opportunity to go after it again?
Yeah. Well, I was, for once, I'm surprised we had a really fast long run car. I told myself, since I'm no longer in the playoffs, I'm just gonna try to work on that long run speed, and we worked out pretty well tonight. I felt like we had the fastest long run car, but like you said, it's hard to pass, and yeah, I kind of wish I stayed a little bit longer there after me and Chad got into it. But I figured the damage was going to hold me back a little bit, so I went ahead and pitted. But I don't know,
I mean, I'll say it was definitely a really great fight between you guys, all four of you, really. I mean, as you, Chad, Ryan, and Larry. I mean, you guys were definitely going at it. The first run, of course, you guys were all pretty similar pit strategies. That second round, though, you guys were split up by about, I want to say, 5 or 6 laps between the earliest and the latest pitters. Did you have any thoughts about maybe trying to do a short pit on that final stint earlier, maybe either earlier than you did or anything like that, to try to see if you could keep that track position? Or did it seem like the fresher tires were, if it was, let's say, maybe 3 or so laps was enough to make that difference?
Yeah. Usually, it seems like you want a short stop with these cars, but it looks like tonight then you wanted to pit later than everybody else. I did that the first run, and I was able to catch back up to them. I should have did the second run, but I was scared that the damage was holding me back too much. So like I said, I just went ahead and pitted. I think if I would have stayed out a little bit longer, maybe pitted after Ryan or pitted with him, it'd have been a lot closer. But, what you going to do? On to next week.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great fight regardless. And so say, before we let you go and before we give you thanks and shouts, I got 2 options. And I'll say I see a certain birthday boy snuck in here as well. So I say, I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of this, Maxwell or Brandon, if you guys have any questions for our third place finisher in that number 93.
I'll stick in here, Kevin. I mean, I've watched your race for years now, and I was telling the guys before the race, as far as who you want in the car for a really short run and really just not worrying about tires, Kevin's the guy to have. But you really showed a lot of patience and a great job on the long run tonight. What were your thoughts coming into it after the contact, a little bit after halfway with the 17? What were your thoughts, in the closing laps when you were coming back up on that same driver again?
It was no animosity there. It was hard racing. That's what I thought from the get go. I knew it, if you're able to hold your line steady, it's going to be hard to pass. So I didn't blame him, for running me hard. I don't know what I would have done. I guess maybe gave him a bumper a little bit. I don't know. Who knows? But, like I said, it could have been better off, but maybe if we didn't get the damage, might have been better, but oh well.
Well, congratulations on a great third place finish. It was a lot of fun to watch today.
All right, but before we let you go, Kevin, I got plenty of people to thank for that run tonight. I got obviously I've got some insider info on your paint job and stuff like that, but definitely wanted to give you the floor here, sir.
Yeah, Chris Caboo, always paint scheme, beautiful paint scheme. You guys are putting on a show, Area 51, and yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, well earned tonight. Hard fought finish there tonight, Kevin. Good job, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next week, sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're gonna switch over now to our second place driver in tonight, and that is that 17 of Chad Wilkes. So we're gonna pull Chad on in over here. Chad, I say you got the kick off the start, got the lead, able to kind of control that whole first run. And then that pit strategy, Ryan Kelly kind of doing Ryan Kelly things, undercuts the field and able to get that clean air. But then I'd say just from there, we saw the last run, obviously you were able to pit earlier the earliest, not probably by choice, obviously. But it seemed like it maybe actually got you that track position and put you in maybe a potential to hold on to the lead there at the end. Of course, unfortunately, that contact we saw between you and the 93, I'm sure definitely kind of derailed some of your plans a little bit. But I mean, take us through your race and how did it feel out there tonight? And what did you notice as kind of the biggest thing for you tonight?
I mean, it's, a lot of these races have been whoever pits first wins, and that's pretty much what it was. And I just don't think I'll ever be the person that pits first when I'm leading. And then I lost the race with when I came out right there behind Larry. If I could have kept him behind me, I probably would have won because I'd have had fresh tires, and all I needed to do was pass one guy. And I was able to pass Larry, but that just burnt my tires up. And I was able to make some ground on Ryan a little bit, but me and Larry just racing side by side that whole time. And that pretty much sealed it. As soon as we got to that point, I told Ryan, I was like, good win. Because, I mean, once you get to that point, there's just nothing you can do without a caution. I mean, it's kind of there used to be, or maybe in a normal race, a lot of times there's a penalty to being the first to pit because of cautions, and you could end up being in a lot of trouble. But, I mean, obviously we just don't have cautions anymore, so there really is no penalty. I mean, it's just about timing it up right, and I'm never going to be the guy to do that. So, yeah, I mean, until that happens, it's going to be tough for me to win. I knew I wasn't going to be the first to pit, so I tried to save tires while holding all those guys back. And at the very end, I started pushing to get some distance to try to keep the undercut from happening, which I almost did with Larry. But some of that's my fault too. If I'd have started pushing a little bit earlier and got a little bit further away from Ryan and Larry, I might could have kept the undercut from happening and just waited too late to try to pull a gap. Some of that's my fault too. So it's just how the racing is now.
Yeah, like I said, we're definitely used to. Like I said, it's definitely been a theme where these things have been going caution free for a very long time. So far this season, like you said, so you can't bank on them. Like you said, you kind of have to plan your strategy almost with it going caution free, or kind of almost planning it like a road course where they usually just do the local yellows. So yeah, definitely changes kind of how you have to strategize these things. But I mean, just that being said, though, I mean, hell of a recovery. First off, saving the car, obviously, with you in the 93's contact, but then also then to be able to pit there, get the lead, but then able to manage your stuff to hold on to that second place with significantly older tires. The one thing Brent and I were talking about, though, once you made that pit stop, how close were you on fuel? Because it looked like it was maybe right on the edge of that fuel. And did you have to save it all, or was it pretty much you knew you were in the window when you jumped in there?
Yeah, I was never going to win. I had to save quite a bit. Well, I mean, it wasn't any massive saving. It was just a little saving every lap, just backing up the corner a lot. I never had to start pulling the clutch or anything. But yeah, I started running out across the start finish line and started sputtering in turn one. So I had half a straightaway left. But I ran it relatively hard until Ryan passed me. And then when Ryan passed me, it was all about running just hard enough to keep everybody else behind me. So it was a lot of lifting and coasting, but I was never pulling the clutch or anything like that. And I kind of knew where I was. I was able to save. I was able to get to a point where I knew I had like half a lap left, and then I was able to keep it at that point pretty much for the rest of the time. So, I mean, that was definitely a big part of the equation in the last few laps, but had such a big lead that over second and third that it wasn't, or third and fourth, I mean, that wasn't too big of an issue.
Yeah, so definitely a lot that you had to deal with tonight, but say still able to find a way to bring it home in that second spot. So I say obviously playoff side of the same things. I say a great way to kick things off. Of course, you always want to get that win, but to be able to still hold on to that second place, that's going to be a great result for those final three races now after tonight. But I'm going to pass over to Brandon and see if you have anything that you kind of want to run his way as well here, sir.
Yeah, Chad, I mean, a lot of fun watching you tonight. You know, the thing that I noticed about your race is you were probably better than anyone on track at maintaining that middle to high line, keeping the cars that would try to make a run below you pinch down, and really, you know, maintaining your momentum off the corner. You know, after making contact there, you know, right before the second round of pit stops, and then at the very end, seeing that 93 come back into your mirror, was there a little bit of extra motivation there at the end, or was it just racing as usual?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say there was really extra motivation. I guess I was pretty ticked off when it happened, but I guess probably as much that it happened, because I mean I didn't know what the situation was. Like I still don't. I forgot I exited out before I watched the replay, so I really don't even know what happened. I didn't feel like it was my fault, but I didn't know for sure. I guess it is just a thing of maybe expecting a little bit more room from a non-playoff driver. Not that Kevin wouldn't have been a playoff driver, obviously, had he raced, and not that he shouldn't go try to win. But I guess that was the only thing that made me agitated. But I mean, I don't even know what happened. So I guess I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. I may later, or it may be my fault when I watch it later. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think really nothing of it other than he, as a non-playoff driver, was definitely not going to get by me at the end without really, really, really having to fight for it. So he'd had to move me out the way to make it happen. But that would be the case with anybody who isn't a playoff driver, or really almost a playoff driver to a degree at this point. I mean, there's money on the line.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, great job though tonight, Chaz. Like I said, very, very hard fought one. I think you had probably the most going on of anybody, it felt like, this evening. But definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place run here tonight.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who runs the league. Thanks to y'all for the broadcast. I saw Maxwell had to miss it till the end. So I'm interested to go back and see this one. This might mean that we can get Maxwell back in the car next year. And thanks to the teammates Ryan and Larry for this race. Not quite a 1, 2, 3, but close. Looking forward to the last 3 races. Should be fun.
All right, yeah, enjoy this one. So definitely look forward to seeing you next week. Yeah, we say Maxwell got kicked out of the booth from his wife for his birthday today, but I say we won't be getting rid of him for those final 3 races. I think we'll definitely be seeing some more of him in the booth with me these last 3, and then we'll see what next season brings. I say it'll be a lot of fun, but yeah, until then though, enjoy this one, Chad. Look forward to talking to you here soon, sir.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, that leaves one driver left, and that's going to be the 13 of Ryan Kelly, our race winner tonight. Just going to pull up that number 13 car here. All right, Ryan. So that's the way you want to start off a playoff, I'm sure, say getting the win. But man, I say you and your pit strategies, I mean, you've been kind of working these guys on the pit stops week in and week out. Say this time you did go a little. The first stop, of course, you undercut the guys. You got the lead. You're able to kind of do what you do best over the course of that run. But man, the second stop, I'll say you saw Chad had to pit a lot early. Kevin pitted not too long after him, and then you had to react to it. Did you have any concerns about trying to make those passes on those guys coming to the last run of that race?
Yeah, I knew it'd be difficult, but I know that right before that last pit stop, I stayed out. I think a lot longer than Kevin, or a lot longer than Chad, and definitely longer than Kevin. So I just had fresher tires and it helped me get by easier.
Yeah, so you made it definitely. I wouldn't say made it look easy, but I'd say once you got out front, I'd say you do kind of what you do best. I'd say we always kind of joke about you being Mr. Long Run. And I mean, you did exactly that. Once you got to that point, we saw at the beginning you got around Larry, you got to Chad, you made some couple big moves to try to get around him, couldn't quite do it. Was there any point where you said, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna ride and then try to pull the pit stop strategy, or was it just kind of trying to find a way to get around that 17 car? But then, of course, keep an eye on that fuel window once that time opened up.
Yeah, on that first run, I was trying everything I could to get around Chad, but he was just really quick, and I decided just to kind of ride and try and undercut him, but he started pulling away, so I pitted earlier than I planned.
Yeah, I mean, strategy, obviously, I mean, that it definitely played out well. I mean, that was a move that I think got you kind of in control of that race. On that second stint, obviously, and then from there able to kind of plan accordingly for what you want to do for that third one. But say obviously kind of a little bit multi-grooved it felt like tonight. Say we always talk about these tracks usually kind of just being bottom feeders, but it looked like there was definitely some really good momentum on that middle to top groove. We saw you work around Larry to get that second position, and then so then be able to try to get that spot and keep going from there. I mean, was that something you found during practice, or is it something that during the race you're able to get squared away, or how did that pan out for you too?
Yeah, just in the practice laps before the race. I mean, we've had great setups all year, so you could definitely run the top or the bottom or wherever you need it to be. But yeah, it was another good setup, good race, and happy to go 2 in a row.
Yeah, it was an awesome job to say nobody able to collect that bounty on yourself or Larry tonight with you getting the win. They tried, couldn't quite get there. Just an awesome job tonight here. But I'm going to pass it over to Brandon here. I was able to drag Brandon over in the booth with Maxwell celebrating his birthday this evening. So I was able to kind of rope in one of my fellow buddies over from the NASCAR 2003 days. So Brandon, not sure if you have anything you want to run through this 13 car as well.
Yeah, after my first time in the booth, I'm not sure they'll be inviting me back. But Ryan, it was a lot of fun watching you tonight. I was talking to Guile earlier in the race, that you were kind of in the catbird seat, as we say. You were able to sit behind the 17, watch what he was doing, watch where you could get runs and where you couldn't, and really see how that tire strategy was going to play out. And then you were able to run a little bit longer run on the second set of tires. How concerned were you that when you cycled through the pit strategy after that second pit and it looked like that Chad was a pretty wide gap out there? How concerned were you about getting back up to him and being able to get around him?
Yeah, I think staying out longer and having the fresher tires definitely helped me, but I was definitely concerned about once I got to him, would I be able to pass him? Because, everyone's so quick, and sometimes it's just harder to pass when the car's a little bit on the tighter side. But just got lucky, made it happen, and thankfully in victory lane.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job tonight, Ryan. Obviously, like you said, the way you want to start off the playoffs here to get the win, get some extra points, of course, going your way, and say into those final 3 races. But before we let you go, sir, definitely want to give you the opportunity. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that win this evening?
Yeah, the teammates tonight, Larry and Chad, and all the admins for a great season. Excited for the rest of the playoffs and you guys up in the booth. Thank you very much.
All right, well, you enjoy it, sir. And yes, I enjoy this one, and we'll get you focused up on next week, and we'll see if you can get 3 in a row after this one.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Brendan, that's our race winner in that number 13 of Ryan Kelly. So that's 100 laps here tonight at Vegas in the books. I'll say again, caution free another time this season. Say these guys have been definitely making a habit of it. But yeah, I saw a little bit of everything here tonight. Ryan Kelly able to hold on to that track position, get the win. But so that's saying then on your side of things, first broadcast. So what are your thoughts of the race, and of course on the booth, being on the booth side of things?
It was a really interesting race to watch. Not only was there some really good side-by-side racing and really good strategy involved, but you had people that were really rising to the occasion. Guys like Kevin, who historically aren't the best when it comes to long terms and long-run speed, really changed his style to make that work for him tonight. Then on the other side of it, you had guys like Kevin Freese, who, one little hiccup in the middle of the race took one of the fastest guys in the race and put him down in 8th. So, a lot of fun to watch. I definitely hope I get a call back to do this again. I had a lot of fun tonight. One of the better experiences that I've had on iRacing through the years. So, fantastic racing, great group of drivers. Looked like a lot of respectful racing, and I can't say enough about how fun that strategy game was.
Yeah, we'll definitely get my people in touch with your people. Get our calendars aligned. As I know you've got plenty on your plate as well. So, yeah, Brandon, thank you so much for jumping in. It was definitely a pleasure to have you in here. Able to kind of fill in while Maxwell's out, able to go out and celebrate his birthday. So, yeah, we'll definitely get you in when we get the opportunities as well. Like I said, we'll get things squared away. But yeah, thank you so much for everything and being a part of this one tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. I'll have your people call my agent. I think my wife just put him in bed, so we can work something out in the future and get together again.
Sounds good. I'll try to get some cookies ready to kind of work them over here.
Sounds good.
All right, so those are watching here on Green White Checkered TV, thank you so much for supporting us at Green White Checkered, of course, with also supporting Area 51 Racing League. It's a lot of fun to be doing this, and yeah, I look forward to many more to come. So yeah, so enjoy this one tonight. I hope you had fun with this one. But however, of course, as always, happy Friday Eve. Hope you have a wonderful Friday tomorrow. And until then, though, have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you on Sunday for the opener of the Super Speedway Series. So until then, have a good night, everyone.